Thank you. Please be seated. So good evening and welcome, and thank you for joining us on what, for anyone in this position, anyone in our families, would be a very special day indeed. We will start with two short poems read by Rob's sister, Josie.
Like Us by Nahir Keith. I am your friend, a soul for your soul, a place for your life. Home, know this, sun or water, here or away. We are like us, we leave and we stay. That still and settled place by Edward Monson. In that still and settled place, there's nobody but you. You're where I breathe my oxygen. You're where I see my view. And when the world feels full of noise, my heart knows what to do. It finds that still and settled place and dances with it.
Thank you, Josie. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm Scott Albert, officiant of this special event, father of the bride, father-in-law of the groom, and as anyone who would ask, who would be asked to serve such a role, someone filled with pride and honor, and to be honest, a little nervous. But this is a time of happiness and excitement, adventure and new beginnings, gratitude and grace for both of our families, now one family. It has been a journey through the cycle of life for all of us, a time to put the truly important things and the important people into perspective. And here we are, together today with you, so thank you. So, as honored as I am, you and I may both be asking the question, what is a wedding officiant? In truth, I don't really know. This is only my second time. Fortunately, my sister and brother-in-law went to the local courthouse prior to the wedding to share their official vows. Fortunately, Victoria and Rob have also done the same. Our goal is to celebrate. My goal is to welcome you and to set that tone for the celebration. And hopefully, in this process, I can make you smile. I can share something about these two amazing young people who have lived with me in recent months and whom I've come to know both as individuals and as a couple. Now, as a storyteller, hopefully I'll be brief. Even with these dim lights, I can still see if there's a glaze in your eyes. So I'll be sure to go a little shorter than that. Now, I might not know a lot about being an officiant, but I do know about relationships between people. It's not just my 28 years of marriage. It's almost 40 years of listening to people as a counselor, as a friend, as a coach, and as a colleague. And with that, let me share with you two ideas from two sage philosophers. One about love, the other about marriage. There was a great Philadelphia philosopher who too often was never given credit for his understanding of human relationships. Since we're in Philadelphia, I thought it was important to share his story. The characters in this particular relationship are timeless, though for some of you, some of them might be before your time. There's Rocky Balboa, a club boxer who never considered himself anything but a guy with a hard head and ability to take a punch. Picked from a catalog of unknown boxers, he was given a chance to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. There's Adrian, a shy, quiet young woman who worked in a pet shop in a working class section of Philly, who kept to herself and took care of her alcoholic and abusive brother. Little did she realize that Rocky tried to get her attention, that he saw in her things that she certainly didn't see in herself. And there's Paulie, a man who had a lot of dreams, filled none of them, and did little else besides drink and stay home with his sister Adrian, for whom he thought he took care of. It happened in one day in preparation for Rocky's big fight for the championship. Paulie desperately wanted to be with Rocky on the night in the corner of that big championship fight. And it actually happened in a meatpacking plant where Paulie worked. Rocky would punch the sides of beef, breaking the ribs of each of these pieces of meat. After a heavy session of pounding these sides of beef, Rocky was standing there with these half gloves on, shadow boxing, pretending. Paulie begins to slice a piece of beef. He says, "Hey, Rock, you like my sister?" Rocky's standing there shadow boxing and says, "Yeah, Paulie, I like your sister." Paulie pulls out a piece of freezer paper, drops it down, slaps the beef on top of the freezer paper. "Hey, Rock, you messing with my sister?" Rocky stops boxing and says, "Hey, Paulie, you don't ask if I'm messing around with your sister. It's not right." Paulie begins to wrap up the freezer paper and says, "What do you like about my sister?" Rocky says, "I don't know, fills gaps." "What are gaps, Paulie?" "I don't know, I have gaps, she has gaps. Together we fill gaps." And Rocky was saying something very profound at that moment. Because we all have gaps. We have these sides of ourselves that we see are real strengths. And then we have these other shadows, these things that we don't necessarily share with other people. The charismatic, outgoing person who really loved to have an audience. The person who was the great listener, who loved to be with the people, who loved to speak a lot. "I don't know, I have gaps, she has gaps. Together we fill gaps." And I think as we think about ourselves, and we think about some of the significant people in our lives, we realize that we too have these strengths, and we too have these gaps. The second story, if I can find the page, the second story occurred 28 years ago by my now 94-year-old father, who's now been married over 60 years. And when I got married, he gave me some advice, not frequent for my dad. Marriage, he said, is finding the right person at the time and working like hell the rest of your life to keep it that way. Working like hell the rest of your life to keep it that way? What does that mean? So many ways we evolve over the course of a lifetime. You will change careers. Some of your values will evolve. If you have children or don't have children, there will be moments and times when you wonder. So how does one keep it that way? Well, perhaps the answer lies right before us. Or perhaps it's really just a reminder. Right here, this evening, at this beautiful horticultural center, for us, we can look around, and let's take a moment to look, that it's all green. Here, after a huge snowstorm, for those of us who were here yesterday, that somehow it stayed green, well after the flowers and blooms. And you probably will conclude at the end of this event today that it's always green. But we need to remember, different types of flowers and plants live together, just like us, living together. Flowers like us bloom at different speeds. Some of us need more sunlight. Some need more shade. That in a relationship, like in a garden, we need time and attention to the buds and the branches. That with time, things need weeding and pruning so that we can grow and find our way both together and at moments separately. The key to this and any loving relationship is communication. The work to keep it that way is all in the communication. And this has been the area that our two remarkable young people have had one of the most remarkable discussions that I have ever witnessed. There was a time that the three of us, we went to the gym together. You started a discussion on the drive about how to work more effectively together. You were working on, of all things, the wedding events. You acknowledged that living together and working together are different. You started pointing out different work styles, different needs. There was no drama. You weren't trying to make yourself right and the other person wrong. We reached the gym. You waited 60 minutes as we all exercised. And as you got in the car, it was as if you finished your thoughts and the sentences that were incomplete when we got that we got to the gym. It was like you picked up in 60 minutes like it never existed. Well, I understand that you said, and I need to work at being better at, and I can see where you thought about this way. I can make more of an effort to clarify. And I'm sitting in the back seat of the car listening to this and wondering, did we go to the gym yet? Did I fall asleep? How did they remember what they were talking about? As someone who has listened to thousands of people and hundreds of families in over 4 decades, you are already an extraordinary team. The clarity with which you express your wishes, the acknowledgement that you make to each other, that you could and will respond with more effort to listen more closely, to ask more questions for clarification, to answer with more sensitivity and understanding. These things that still elude couples of many years and decades. And you do so without drama or stubbornness, but simply because you love each other. So as your officiant, I give you my blessing for this marriage. And as this community that you have brought together, if you too offer this blessing, please say, I do. I do. Lila, please bring up the wedding ring. should have known that, Rob. And with this blessing, please seal this ceremony with a kiss and let us acknowledge with our applause as we move from ceremony to celebration.